This video today is for those who get painful periods, who experience moodiness, changes in hormones, etc. So this is just a little video about how you can balance your body during your period, how you can balance your body to feel less pain, less irritation, even have more regularity in your periods. It's just an all-round balancer. So to begin with, I want to talk about how our emotions often affect our cycles. And so it's very, very common for people to get pain during their periods, to get moodiness, irritability, and it kind of baffles me that the public health messaging around that is it's really normal. It's really normal to get pain during your period. It's really quite normal to get heavy periods. It's really quite normal to feel really irritated and to, want to be in bed for days on end when you got your period, but it's just not true. Just because it's normal and lots of people get it doesn't mean that you actually should. You actually shouldn't. Your periods should not be painful. They should not make you irritated. You should barely notice that they're even coming. The only thing that should give it away is the fact that it's actually there. And you're like, okay, I'm bleeding. That snuck up on me. And they should also be very regular. And if they are regular and pain-free and you don't notice too much of a change in mood, that's a really good thing. That means that your periods are really healthy, your cycle is healthy. It shows that your body is in a good state of health. And it means that you have a good chance of being fertile. Some people are kind of scared of that word, but it's a really good thing. The more fertile you are, basically, the more in alignment with your own health and emotions you are. And so I want to talk about the types of things that actually deep down cause issues within our cycles. And a lot of this time, this actually comes down to, early childhood, adolescence, all that kind of thing, being shamed for being a woman, right? Because that, your womb, your ovaries, your everything to do with your cycle was actually linked to your personal power, your sexual power, your reproductivity, everything like that. And so things that actually cause us to have imbalances and pain and irritation can actually be to do with the trauma experience of being shamed for being a woman, being shamed for bleeding, being called weak, being called less than a man because we somehow, created them. Women created men in terms of, we all have a mother, and yet, there's this messaging going around that, we're weaker and, it's this all this shameful stuff. And so shame is a really big emotion that can really cause a lot of pain and dysfunction in the body, because essentially what happens is strong emotions, they actually affect us on a physical level. I don't know if you've ever sort of felt quite anxious or really worried, and then all of a sudden you start feeling tight in your muscles up here, right? The exact same thing happens with your womb, with your uterus, with your ovaries. So it's like when you start feeling shamed, or that cycle comes along and subconsciously you remembered all that shaming stuff that came along with it. You know what I mean? And the body actually has a physical reaction to that. And so a lot of the time it's about balancing out those things that people have said to you in the past, balancing out those emotions, that shame that you feel. And it might not be like in your face, like every time you get your period, I feel shame that I've got my period. But when you think about it, will you talk to people about it? Do you feel uncomfortable talking about it in public? Do you feel uncomfortable or shamed about period sex, or getting your period, or bleeding on someone, or say a partner, or do you feel like you want to hide yourself when you get your period? These are very big signs that you actually feel shame if you shy away from those things, because it's a very natural part of who we are, right? It's like how a lot of guys can fart and they're like, oh, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what? I would be so embarrassed. I have farted. It's like it's the same sort of thing. It's like, we sort of associate this level of shame and we might feel embarrassed, whereas it's actually a very normal function of the body. And so but I'm going to show you some techniques to help actually balance that stuff out, because when you're no longer having a subconscious or even a conscious emotional reaction to your having your period, to being a woman, to having a cycle, that's when the pain, the irritation, the mood swings, the hormones begin to balance out, because you're not having these up and downs in your nervous system and your emotions every time your period comes about. And and then also helps with regularity, all those sort of things. One of the first things I want to show you is actually an acupuncture point. It is sort of right in the crease. So this is your elbow, sort of in the crease, just below. So it's not your upper arm, it's your lower arm, just below the crease, towards your thumb side. So if you can see here, my thumb is up here, sort of around that area is what's called an emotional release point for your entire reproductive system. And so if you find this is something that you can do when remembering, times in the past where you remember being shamed or you remember feeling embarrassed, this is a really great point, and you can actually rub that. It's kind of like, this is kind of like a storage point. Think of it like a kettle, right? Or a hot water jug. It's like as that starts to boil, there's lots and lots of pressure. And then holding this is kind of like letting the lid off and letting all the steam out, right? So this is just going to help release some of that emotional pressure. And this actually positively affects the function of your uterus and of your whole reproductive system, because they are muscles too. Just like when you get anxious and you get tight in the shoulders, when you experience emotions around shame and your sexuality, the muscles in your reproductive system can get blocked up. So this is a beautiful spot, and it's actually on both sides. So you can do, you can actually sort of hold your arms like this and do them both at the same time, or you can do them separately. And don't be like too stressed about trying to find the right spot, because when you touch the right spot, you'll know, because it's usually quite tender. So it's like you'll feel around and you're like, oh, I can't really feel, oh, there it is, feel it. And so it's like there's tenderness or it's a little bit painful in the spot that indicates where it is. So that's a really nice spot that I like to massage. And I'm going to show you a couple of other spots as well that can really help balance out the reproductive system. And now I'm going to show you just a little bit of tapping, because I find that's really helpful as well. I use a lot of tapping and eye rotations in my clinic. I'm just going to stand up for a moment. I'm going to step back and I want to show you sort of on that back. So if you imagine this is your back, and you know those dimples you have on your back? If you massage in there and around your hip bones, you rub it. This is lymphatic release. So just above those dimples, along the spine and along the hip bones, you can rub. As well when you're thinking about things in the past that made you feel not great, or times when people made fun of you, like boys in high school, or even like if you've been shamed when you're younger about touching yourself, etc. The other thing is, so I'm just going to lift this up so that you can see my belly button. So about 5 centimeters down from my belly button, I press inwards towards my spine, and then I press down onto the top of my pubic bone. So again, in towards the spine and then down towards the pubic bone. And then there's a ridge along the pubic bone. This again is a lymphatic release point. So you can rub along there. A lot of people find that quite painful. Again, you'll know when you've found the spot, as it's usually quite tender. And so you rub these spots anywhere from like 30 seconds to even sometimes 4 or 5 minutes. But you'll know when it's sort of time to wrap up, because the tenderness will start to subside. the pain will start to release. Again, because it's kind of like letting that, it's once all the steam's gone, then suddenly it's not so hot. Yeah, so you can rub along there, again, on the arms, on the back of the hips. And then something I really like to do is when I'm thinking about what's happened, I particularly like to tap here. These are points that are quite often associated with our reproductive system. This is actually a release point for the kidneys. However, the kidneys govern emotions like fear, anxiety, things like that. And so like if you sort of feeling, you know, uncomfortable, or you kind of, you know, fearing someone, you know, like, what am I trying to say? Fearing, you know, bleeding through your pants or something like that. So this is a nice way also to, as a nice outlet, tapping here. I like to do eye rotations when I'm tapping and thinking about sort of things that feel relevant to the issue. So again, any bullying you experienced, any shaming you experienced for, say, having sex at a young age, touching yourself at a young age, which is all very, very normal. You know, touching yourself is a very natural thing to do. You know, some babies are actually born holding their junk. So I should use anatomical words, their penis or vagina. And so, you know, those sort of things they can be sort of shame passed down generations. Again, the eye rotations just go through the different areas of the brain. Your eyes actually activate different memories, different emotions. So by going through the eye rotations while thinking about it and tapping, again, is like finding extra little jugs that have kind of got steam to let them out. So I'll show you all the tapping points that I go through. So I do the eye rotations while thinking, and I tap here. I tap on my chin. I tap below my nose. I tap on either side of my nose, underneath my eyes, on the corner of my eyes, on the corner of my eyebrows. I also tap in here, in between my eyebrows. I tap on the top of my head, and then I kind of hug myself and tap underneath my armpits. And then you can tap, it's called the karate chop. It's easier because there's a couple of points in here that are really nice outlets too. So tapping and then karate chopping, basically your hand. And so doing those different eye rotations can just help to release some of those emotions. And so other emotions that even may be triggering pain is say like relationship stuff. So like if you're feeling really controlled, if you're feeling disrespected, not supported, feeling insecure or like unsecure, those emotions can come up too. And you might even find that even if, as I say those words, memories, thoughts come up, that's perfectly fine. That's just what you're going to be working on. And as you go through these points to rub, you'll find one that's sort of probably more sore than the others, or they might all even be sore. So those are my recommendations. I'd love to hear in the comments how you experience this video. Let me know. I love hearing stories about how these videos are helping people. You know, oftentimes it's like you'll feel a certain way and then you'll do this process, and then next time it comes up, you'll feel differently, and people will sort of like, wow, it's like usually I'd feel really upset, or I'd feel really hormonal or really irritated, and now this time I'm not, or I have less pain. Like, please tell me. I love hearing that stuff. Yeah, thank you for listening, and take care, everybody. Again, like and follow if this resonates. My Facebook is Olivia Joy Kinesiology and Fertility. Instagram is Olivia Joy Kinesiologist. Love for you to jump on and follow. Share lots of great videos like this. Again, feel free to like and follow on YouTube. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.